6 things schools in India can do better. Promoting rote memorization. I think rote memorization is completely passe and schools in India have to move on. There's a lot of focus on competency based learning. We have to focus on learning rather than ratta marna, and even CBSE, the biggest Indian board today, is also making a lot of effort to move towards that. Assessments are moving towards that. आपका ब्लूम्स टैक्सोनॉमी के जो वेरियस लेवल्स है, लाइक क्रिएट, एनालाइज, हाउ डू वी मूव मोर ऑन दैट rather than just knowledge and memory and recall, right? So we need to really, while our assessments in CBSE are moving towards that, but I think what the problem actually lies in this research which says teachers teach the way they were taught. एंड दिस इज़ द कोर ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि हम सब एज एजुकेटर्स हमें वैसा ही पढ़ाया गया है, इसलिए हम वैसा ही पढ़ाते हैं. वी नीड टू कम आउट ऑफ दिस रिक्वायर्स अ लॉट ऑफ टीचर ट्रेनिंग, अ लॉट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इन टू टीचर ट्रेनिंग, विच अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई डोंट सी अ लॉट ऑफ schools working on. This is something which is very important if we have to really move out of rote memorization and move towards learning, a more learning focused environment where understanding is really built in. What we've actually done in our curriculum is our focus is to build understanding. There's a beautiful framework called Understanding by Design by these two educational researchers, Jay McTighe and Grant Wiggins. And it's a beautiful framework. What it does is it asks every educator to think and plan कि आप अगर कोई कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ा रहे हो क्लास में, तो बच्चा उसको 40 साल के बाद कहाँ अप्लाई करेगा. एंड आई थिंक अबाउट दैट टुडे. So if I am teaching letter writing 40 years down the line, where will I apply this? So maybe I'll write an email, right? So how about giving a task like that to the child? Write an email to your grandmother, write an email to your mother, write an email to your son, convincing him why he should take this college and not the other 3 options, and why you want him to go to the option 1 which you acknowledge. So give him that rationale in your email body, give him the analysis, the comparison of the other colleges, right? Now if a task like that is given, then you're so much focused on learning rather than rote memorization, because अगर उसको 4 कॉलेज के बीच में कंपेयर करके करना है, तो दे हैव टू पुट दैट स्टडी, दे हैव टू पुट दैट एनालिसिस, दे हैव टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म कि भाई स्टडी दोज 4 कॉलेजेस फर्स्ट एंड देन ओनली दे कैन ब्रेनस्टॉर्म एंड एनालाइज. सो जस्ट शिफ्टिंग फ्रॉम कि भाई ये याद करना है क्योंकि ये एग्जाम में आता है, to where will the child use this in real life 40 years from now? Just asking that question as a teacher will really change a lot of things for you, and you can plan questions around that. The moment you ask these richer questions, immediately learning in the classroom will be more learning focused and not rote memory focused, right? Second piece, a lot of schools even today assess the child in the same way, assess all children in the same way, right? While a lot of these boards give us liberty to bring in varied assessments, a beautiful way to assess would be through a portfolio of assessments. कुछ मार्क्स बच्चे को प्रोजेक्ट पे मिले, कुछ मार्क्स बच्चे को नोटबुक वर्क पे मिले, कुछ मार्क्स बच्चे को वाइवा के ऊपर मिले, कुछ मार्क्स बच्चे को रिटन टेस्ट के ऊपर मिले. सो इट इज़ नॉट दैट वी आर असेसिंग अ फिश बाय इट्स एबिलिटी टू क्लाइंब अ ट्री, राइट? सो very important, and this is what educational research also talks about, is assessment एक पोर्टफोलियो ऑफ असेसमेंट्स होना चाहिए rather than just one way of assessment, which is writing the exam. While writing the exam is important, but उसको हम कैसे बाकी और चीज़ों से बैलेंस आउट कर सकते हैं. Today when I see a lot of schools, so काफ़ी schools बैलेंस आउट कर रहे हैं, बट फिर भी 80 मार्क्स इज फॉर द रिटन असेसमेंट, 20 मार्क्स में 5 नंबर नोटबुक के, 2 नंबर इसके, 4 नंबर इसके, ऐसे आता है. ऑफ नॉट ऑफ हाई वैल्यू, और वो जो 20 नंबर दिए भी जाते हैं ना, वो भी सही से नहीं दिए जाते. देयर इज नो एविडेंस टू गिव दैट, देयर इज नो एनेक्डोटल रिकॉर्ड, देयर इज नो रियल डेटा जिससे कि वो दिए जा रहे हैं. इट इज गिवन on the last day of the teacher, how the teacher perceives the child, और वो एक subjective mark वहाँ पे दे दिया जाता है. I would love for schools to really redefine assessment, especially in the lower classes, grade 3, 4, 5, 6. If you can really redefine assessments by having a portfolio where, you know, at least 20 marks is allotted to a project portfolio sort of a thing. At least, 10 marks is allotted to notebook work. At least another 20 marks is allotted to, various other things like some skills in that are utilized in that subject, right? So very important to build that portfolio of assessments, various types of assessments, rather than assessing children just in one way, right, which is the year end exam or half yearly and the year end exam, or the PMT, half yearly, post midterm, and the final exam. So assessments form a is very important to really relook at it. CBSE is talking about it in every circular that we want to redefine assessments, but I see that a lot of schools even today are doing lip service to that. Again, coming back to my first point, that teachers teach the way they were taught. This is exactly what's happening. While CBSE is bringing in a lot of these things, but schools do not take them so seriously, right? Life skills are absent, and we need to really work on that. CBSE has done some beautiful work by releasing the Kaushal Bodh, program into what schools need to do, and I think it will really enrich over time. अगर schools उसको seriously लेते हैं, उसका assessment ठीक से होता है, holistic assessment होता है, तो it will really bring in a lot of skills into Indian schools. And what we do is we have something called as learning expeditions. Every class needs to go through one learning expedition at least, and a lot of these learning expeditions, let me give you an example. Like one learning expedition was about saving river Godavari, and children actually campaigned around Ganpati to make sure that nobody immerses their Ganpati idols in the river. Such a beautiful way of making sure that children understand how our rivers get polluted and they become guardians of it. Another learning expedition that happened in one of our campuses was in collaboration with Robin Hood Army, and children of grade 3, they collected food and they would distribute food year round at various occasions through the Robin Hood Army, and they would weigh कि हमने आज इतना kg of खाना donate किया, right? And throughout the year they would have that chart ready, and they would always want to do better. And then at some points of time they went and met those families also जिनको उनका donated खाना पहुंचा था. It was so powerful. It was so powerful for them to understand that they come from a place of privilege, and with that privilege comes so much of responsibility, right? These skills cannot be taught in other ways. We need to spend time, we need to allocate time in the timetable for such things to happen. If it is not in the timetable, it will not happen. So how do you actually plan for these? And Indian schools must plan for this, and I salute CBSE for the work that they have done with bringing in Kaushal Bodh into the system. Even today, while there's so much of talk about emotional quotient, there's so much of talk about values, it is just maybe one period in the timetable, right? And values, emotions cannot be taught through a period in the timetable. How about making everything in the timetable as a vehicle for teaching of these emotions, for teaching of self-awareness, for teaching of self-reflection, for teaching of empathy, right? For teaching of self-regulation. How about making the maths class a vehicle to teach self-regulation? How about making the science class, physical education class, a tool to teach for understanding my emotions? How was I acting in the math class? Did I help my friend or did I not help him? What was the position I was taking? So what we do in our school is every day, in the beginning of the day, the class sets a tone of the day, and that's written on top of the blackboard. Once it is written on the top of the blackboard, when the math teacher comes in, she will ask the class, did we live up to the tone of the day, right? So if my tone of the day was, say, honesty is the best policy, was I honest in my math class? अगर मेरी गलतियाँ हुई तो did I acknowledge कि मेरे से गलतियाँ हुई, right? Was I honest in the math class to myself, not to anybody else? Was I honest in the science class? And that day becomes a mirror to look at yourself with the lens of honesty. And by the end of the day, I make a journal entry about how honest I was today. Which were the areas where I could not be honest, where I had to slightly lie, right? It is such a powerful tool. And the same way, if children can understand the power of self-regulation, understand how they are feeling at various situations, and then work on that, right? The almanac or the school diary is a great tool for a daily journal entry, and that allows them to daily reflect. वो डेली सोचते हैं कि भाई सुबह से दोपहर तक जो मैंने स्कूल का दिन स्पेंड किया, मेरे इमोशंस कैसे थे? Did I follow uplifting emotions or was I sad today? Was I was equipped like by negative emotions? So उसके बारे में वो सोचते हैं, उसके बारे में वो अपने जर्नल में एंट्री करते हैं. So the entire day becomes a moral science class. The entire day becomes an emotional quotient class, and it is so powerful. अगर हम बच्चों को ये habit of reflection डाल दें, it will lead to a lot of solid character building in students. I also see that sometimes in our systems, especially in schools in India, teachers are either overworked, a lot overworked, and sometimes I also feel that they're put into the classroom without appropriate training, without appropriate context कि भाई इस चीज़ को आगे कैसे लेकर के जाना है. And that is exactly what I fear with things like Kaushal Bodh, with things like entrepreneurship happening in schools in India today. Because coming back to my first analogy, a teacher who's been taught in a certain way, वो वैसे ही पढ़ाएगा. तो उसने अगर उसने कभी कौशल बोध पढ़ा ही नहीं है, तो वो कैसे पढ़ाने वाला है उसको मैथ्स की तरह ही पढ़ाएगा. एंड द मोमेंट आई टेक इट लाइक मैथमेटिक्स, उसका पूरा चीज़ गायब हो जाएगा. एंड दैट्स एग्जैक्टली व्हाट्स हैपनिंग विद AI in a lot of schools in India. The way AI is being taught is very theory, and the moment it becomes theory, no child wants to understand this. They are seeing the बाहर दुनिया में AI के बारे में जो बात हो रही है और मेरी टेक्स्ट बुक में जो बात हो रही है, दोनों ही दुनिया से अलग है. I am not interested, right? So it's really important कि while we are bringing in a lot of these interesting things, what CBSE says, but how we are introducing these things plays a very important role. And बड़ी एक interesting एजुकेशनल फिलॉसफी है कि भाई अगर आप किसी चीज़ को स्कूल में बच्चों को ला रहे हो, तो बाहर की दुनिया में उस फील्ड में कैसा होता है, उससे जितनी दूर रहेगा उसका वैल्यू ख़त्म हो जाएगा. द चाइल्ड डजंट वांट टू डू इट. अगर बाहर की दुनिया में AI में आप चैट GPT यूज़ कर रहे हो अपनी डेली की प्रॉब्लम्स को डिस्कस करने के लिए, सॉल्व करने के लिए, स्कूल में भी क्यों नहीं चैट GPT यूज़ कर सकते? सो वो जितना रियल वर्ल्ड चीज़ स्कूल में आएगा, बच्चे उतना इंटरेस्टेड रहेंगे. आप मैथमेटिक्स कहाँ यूज़ कर रहे हो बाहर की दुनिया में इन लाइफ, अगर वही चीज़ आप स्कूल में लेकर के आओ, द चिल्ड्रन विल बी सुपर इंटरेस्टेड. बट जब हम उस स्कूल में कोई भी रियल वर्ल्ड चीज़ को बहुत सिंप्लीफाई करके लाते हैं, दैट इज़ वेयर द disconnect happens. And that is where I see that today our teachers are not equipped, because we are not helping them come out of that shell कि भाई हमें ऐसे पढ़ाया गया है और मैं ऐसे ही पढ़ाऊंगी. I have to come out of that. I have to be able to come out of that, and for that a lot of dialogue is needed, a lot of conversation is needed, a lot of exemplars. उनको जब तक दिखाया नहीं जाएगा कि कैसे करना है, ये बड़ा मुश्किल है होना. एजुकेशन में ना बता करके काम नहीं कराया जा सकता. एजुकेशन में हमेशा दिखा करके काम कराया जा सकता है. उनको एक सैंपल दिखाओगे तो हर एक टीचर कर पाएगा. एंड दिस इज वेयर a lot of the trouble really happens. And my last take is we can do extracurriculars much better. Extracurricular is a brilliant way of teaching values, is a brilliant way of teaching character, it's a brilliant way, but I see that a lot of we don't put enough emphasis on it. We don't assess it so well. And because we don't assess it so well, there's no emphasis on it. So it's a vicious kind of a cycle. And if we can do extracurriculars well, I think it will really uplift the entire ecosystem. And if teachers are also giving enough importance to extracurriculars, I see a lot of educators, अगर कोई बच्चा स्पोर्ट्स में कोई एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर में एक्सेल कर रहा है तो स्कूल टीचर उसको क्लास में ना डिमीन करता है कि भाई तुम तो उधर अच्छा कर रहे हो, तुम तो पढ़ नहीं रहे हो, कैसे होगा. And that is very demotivating for the child. So somehow in the scenario, I think it is a very important role that education leaders need to play कि हम एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स को इक्वली इम्पॉर्टेंट कैसे बना सकते हैं. हाउ डू वी ऑल्सो bring it into our report cards. Very, very important, because the moment we start assessing it, there is more emphasis on it. The moment there is more emphasis on it, more people are talking about it. The moment we start celebrating successes of children in these spaces, that is when इस पे और फोकस जाएगा और इसके ऊपर और काम हो सकता है. सो हाउ अबाउट डिफाइनिंग, जैसे हम मैथ के लिए कुछ आउटकम्स डिफाइन करते हैं, वैसे हर एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर क्लब के लिए हमें आउटकम डिफाइन करने चाहिए. एंड दैट इज़ एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वी हैव डन इन द लास्ट कपल ऑफ ईयर्स, एंड उसी पे हम काम कर रहे हैं. देयर इज़ अ लॉन्ग वे टू गो, बट उस पर हम काफ़ी काम कर रहे हैं कि भाई हाउ डू वी मेक आवर एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स मोर इनरिचिंग, मोर रिवॉर्डिंग, मोर आउटकम फोकस्ड, राइट, कि भाई दिस इज़ एग्जैक्टली व्हाट विल happen. And with that, I think we'll be able to bring in some like a more holistic educational program in our schooling space. A lot of times I see that कुछ नए इंटरेस्टिंग वर्ड्स आते हैं एंड दे रियली गेट ब्लोन आउट ऑफ प्रपोर्शन. आई थिंक फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी इज वन ऑफ देम, राइट, दैट people are really talking about it so much that it should be a piece in our program. But for many years, it has already been a piece in the math program. मैथ में हम हमेशा मनी के बारे में बात करते हैं. मैथ ऊपर में जब इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ाया जा रहा है या अकाउंटेंसी पढ़ाया जा रहा है, उधर बात होती है. मैथ्स में इवन ग्रेड 3 ऑनवर्ड से उस पर बात होती है. बट समहाउ आई थिंक आई टॉक अबाउट इट क्वाइट ऑफन दैट समहाउ वी हैवंट डन दैट वेल. सो एंड एजुकेशन स्पेस में बहुत बार ऐसा मैंने देखा है, स्पेशली इन स्कूल्स इन इंडिया, कि अगर मैथ में फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी हम अंदर अच्छे से नहीं कर रहे ना, तो उसका एक अलग से हम करिकुलम लगा देते हैं और एक नया हम बॉक्स क्रिएट कर देते हैं. आई एम एब्सोल्युटली अगेंस्ट दैट. Let's not create more compartments. Let's not create 100 different subjects in compartments. How about we bring in a lot of things in one place? Like I'm really amazed to see कि CBSE ने इस साल एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग कुछ समय पहले एक सर्कुलर रिलीज किया where they brought in computational thinking and AI, and what they did was very interesting. They said that 3 to 5 में ये अलग सब्जेक्ट नहीं होगा, but it will be a part of every subject. This is so beautiful, right? Because what it is saying कि भाई let children understand various patterns in science. Let them recognize those patterns. Let them see कि भाई the larger picture. So that is computational thinking. How do the children do that in science? How do they do that in math? How do they do that in English? Right? This is integrated interdisciplinary learning, right? दिस इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट बिकॉज अदरवाइज हम नॉलेज को ना बहुत अलग अलग कंपार्टमेंट में डिफाइन कर रहे हैं. दिस इज व्हाट आई सी दैट, राइट. सो मैथ में भी आई थिंक व्हाट्स रियली इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर एवरी स्कूल टू सी कि भाई instead of having a separate financial literacy curriculum, how do we enhance our math program कि भाई उसके अंदर फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी पूरी तरीके से आ जाए, फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी के जो आउटकम्स है जो डिफाइंड है वो पूरी तरीके से मैथ प्रोग्राम में आ जाए. मैथ पढ़ाते पढ़ाते वो चीज़ होनी चाहिए, राइट? दैट इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और उसी के ऊपर यू नो वी आर ऑल्सो वर्किंग इन आवर स्कूल्स. सो आई डोंट सी दैट. बहुत बार क्या होता है कि अ लॉट ऑफ न्यू कंपनीज कमिंग इनटू एजुकेशन, इतनी कंपनीज आज की डेट में आ रही है दैट they want to offer something unique and they want that the school adjusts to that, and that is where I see a lot of problem happening. It has to be the other way around. Whatever these companies are doing, it has to adjust to the school context, right? Otherwise we are breaking what's happening in the school and we are constantly adjusting, और बच्चे के लिए ना different layers आ रहे हैं और उसको connect नहीं कर पा रहा वो एक दूसरे लेयर को एक आपस में, वो क्योंकि सब अलग अलग कंपार्टमेंट में पढ़ाया जा रहा है बच्चे को, राइट? सो दैट इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड आई थिंक एजुकेशन लीडर्स मस्ट वर्क ऑन दिस. इफ़ यू नो ऑफ somebody who is leading an institute, do share this with them. If you know of a teacher who is very passionate, share this with them, because this is a change that is needed in our Indian education space.